Hello, I've got a really cool video for you. I'm going to explain why I think the Slick Spoon or the Silk Spoon or whatever the heck it's called is a really awesome item for your special attackers, and I'm going to explain there's certain situations where it's definitely going to be the optimal item. Now, I'm just going to do a direct comparison between Slick Spoon or Silk Spoon or whatever the heck it is and Wise Glasses. Now, I think, and I'm going to preface this, I think this is such a really cool, really awesome, I think it's going to be the go-to item over Wise Glasses, and I'm going to explain why. So I'm going to start off with, now, I've just got screenshots here because we're going to go over the maths of this game and how the damage formulas work. Now, this is all a little bit, I'm not going to say it's brand new, I'm fairly familiar with it, but I'm going to walk through exactly how much damage you're going to be doing to a certain Pokemon. So I'm going to start with a Glaceon. Right, so let's go level 13 Glaceon. And let's do a direct comparison with the Slick Spoon and the Wise Glasses. So I'll write this in a grey here. The Slick Spoon decreases the enemies, like it shaves off 20% of their special defense, and the Wise Glasses increases your own special attack by 7%. Now, I really love percentages in this game because they scale so nicely late game, and I think that late game, especially when your stat number gets a lot bigger, percentages matter a lot. So I really like this. Now, 20% is a really huge number, and I think it's really going to be valuable, especially on those big tanks, because chunking a percentage of a big number takes off a lot of a discrete amount versus a percentage of a small number. So let's walk through. Glaceon at level 13 has got a 680 special attack stat. Now, if we have the Wise Glasses, this is going to be 680 times by 1.07. Now, I know what some of you are going to say, it's not entirely accurate because there's the plus 39 special attack and blah. Okay, we're just going to keep it nice and simple for the purposes of numbers. You guys can go and do your own maths. I actually really encourage it. It's going to give you a much better understanding of what's going on. But if you have the Wise Glasses, and we're just going to assume that this is the case here, you have a special attack stat of 727 instead of 680. So that's plus 47. So it's like, you can kind of think of that as like, you know, plus, I don't know, like 3 stacks with your special attack specs. That's pretty nice. But again, that's just purely based off of the passive of the Wise Glasses and the passive of the Slick Spoon. So we're going to try and keep things fairly consistent here. Now with Icy Wind, let me bring up the move here. The way that damage works is it's ratio plus slide plus base. And so I've just got this as a crystal per hit, and we're normally going to be hitting 8 crystals on an enemy late game with Icy Wind. So I'm going to go Icy Wind damage. Okay, and so the damage with the Slick Spoon, now this isn't damage inflicted, this is the pure amount that Icy Wind will do if everything just stayed neutral, but we're going to find out that that's not necessarily the case. It depends on who you're hitting, which is how much damage it does. So here you're going to have your 23% of your special attacks, that's 680 times by 0.23, plus the slide amount, which is 2 times by your level minus 1, which would be 12, plus the base amount, which is 40. So you've got ratio, slide, base there. That's that RSB, if you ever have a look at that and you see that. And I'm going to just simultaneously do this for the Wise Glasses. Okay, and so you can see a lot of it is actually quite fixed. Like your slide and your base is going to be the same regardless of how your special attack, increases with the character. And we're hitting this 8 times. So the damage that it's going to be doing is 1,760. As opposed to if you had the Wise Glasses would be 1,848 damage. And so, you think of that as every single time you launch off the Icy Wind, that's going to be quite a chunk of damage, right? Okay, now this is where so that's showing you how the Wise Glasses will increase things, but we're going to consider the inflicted damage to a particular Pokemon. Now, again, let's just recap. You're decreasing their special defense by 20%, so that's going to be really good on tanks. So I'm going to consider the damage inflicted into a level 12 Mamoswine. Okay, now the damage that you deal, and again, I'm not making this stuff up. This is on the hidden mathematics. If we have a look at the defense formula, you're taking the floor of, so essentially if it's like 0.9, you round down. And I'm just following this formula here, and we're going for special attack, special damage, which is, it's essentially the exact same formula. You're just taking special instead of physical damage. So the damage you're going to be inflicting is going to be equal to, and we write this as a big fraction, it's going to be 1,760 times by 600, and it's divided by 600 plus whatever the special defense is of the particular Pokemon. Now for Mamoswine, Mamoswine has a special defense of 257 at level 12. Now if you want to know any of this, all you need to do is you go into Unite DB, you go up to the top here, your stats, and you can filter for levels. Okay, you can filter through. I just go to level 12 and I find Mamoswine, or I can filter them by their special defense. And so Mamoswine is actually kind of, he's probably on the weaker side of the tanks with his special defense. So you're going to have a look at the stats of all these Pokemon for all their levels. So it's a really, really nice tool for learning the game. Okay, so back to what we were doing. So with our Slick Spoon, we're going to be considering only 80% of this number because we're reducing it by 20%. So it's going to be 257 times by 0.8. Now that number is his special defense, Mamoswine's special defense, after he's been reduced by that Slick Spoon. Okay, now the damage that's actually going to do is 1,310 damage, which is pretty nice. Now comparatively, if we don't have that Slick Spoon buff, is 1,293. So if you're using the Slick Spoon instead of the Wise Glasses, you're going to be doing more damage overall to a Mamoswine level 12. Which essentially means it's a more optimal item. So if you're going, oh, well, which one am I going to do more damage with? You would go, in those situations against a tank, the Slick Spoon. Now, what about if we're versing, okay, so late game, what if we're versing something rather squishy? So let's say we are looking at the inflicted damage to a Gren. And Greninja is fairly weak. He's got a special defense of 116 at level 13. So if we consider the damage, okay, it's going to do the same hit. It's going to do 1,524 damage. Now that's quite a bit. Okay, that's a good chunk into Gren just with one skill late game. Whereas if you had the Wise Glasses, it'd be that 1,848. Okay, it is still better to have the Slick Spoon, which is really cool. So that's something to consider. Now, let's just analyze why is the Slick Spoon better in this kind of situation. Well, have a look at the ratio amount of Icy Wind. Okay, Icy Wind doesn't scale very well with the special attack. So maybe that's an argument for why in this scenario, the Slick Spoon is a better item than the Wise Glasses because you're buffing your special attack, but it's really not going to be that much better if it doesn't scale well with the move, because it doesn't mean that the move does 7% more damage. It means that based on the formula of the move, the ratio part is being increased. That's really, really important to understand. Okay, comparatively, let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at a move that does a lot more scaling, which would be our nice little Gengar. So level 13 Gengar. Again, let's go with the Slick versus the Wise Glasses, holding a couple of things constant here. Okay, now at level 13, Gengar doesn't have as nice of a special attack stat, but his moves actually scale really well. So he's got 447 special attack, and if you consider the Wise Glasses with his 7% buff, he has 531 special attack. Now the move that we're looking at here is Dream Eater, and let's just move this up. Okay, so now if we consider Dream Eater here, this is Dream Eater, we can see that the ratio part of this is a lot higher. Okay, so we've still got our ratio, our slider, and our base amount, but you're going to see that 293% is a bit better than 23% for as we had before. So let's consider just the damage that this move does. So with the Slick Spoon, okay, and it's going to do 2,244 damage when comparatively with the Wise Glasses, if you do the calculation, you get 2,343 damage, which is really kind of cool because you can see that you're doing more damage with your Wise Glasses, and it's actually quite a chunk more. It's like 100 damage more, again, which is pretty nice. But let's consider this inflicted damage amount. So we're hitting the same target here, level 12 max. Again, he's got 257 special defense, assuming he's not holding a focus band or anything like that. And what we're going to find with this Pokemon is that the inflicted damage with the Slick Spoon is 1,671 damage, which is, again, that's quite a chunk if you're doing a bit, but comparatively to our if we had Wise Glasses instead, okay, you're going to be doing 640 damage. Now, you're doing more damage with the Slick Spoon in this case when you're hitting a tank, even if the move scales really highly. Now, that's like, again, this is going to go against what some people might think, but it's because the Slick Spoon's 20% debuff. That's a lot of percentage. Late game is going to be great. Now, that means, okay, well, the Slick Spoon might not be as great early because the Pokemon stats aren't that great early. But I think when you deal your damage is more important than how much damage you do. So doing more damage at that end game fight and shredding them from more of their HP is going to be more valuable than just getting a little bit more flex damage throughout the game. But you're going to be doing more damage to tanks even if your move scales highly. So it's like, again, this is really, really nice stuff to consider. But what about our Greninja? Okay, we're going to be doing 1,943 damage. Again, which is like, that's a Dream Eater, that's crazy amount of damage. Whereas if you had the Wise Glasses, the amount of damage that you're going to be doing, okay, you're going to be doing more damage with the Wise Glasses versus the Slick Spoon in this scenario. Now, this kind of opens up a nice, this opens up a really nice conversation for us to have here, because kind of what we're looking at here is, now I'm going to highlight a couple of things, is that the damage that you do is better with the Slick Spoon in 3 out of 4 cases, because we've got case 1, which is the Glaceon case, which is the move has a low ratio, and you're hitting a tank versus, so there's 4 cases. So we've got low ratio and high ratio, and you'd think the Wise Glasses would be better no matter what, regardless, like no matter what situation with the higher ratio. But that's not even quite the case. And even so much so that if you do the comparison with these two here, there's actually not much of a difference. Like 20 damage comparatively, like this two here, that's got 30 difference. This one's got 20 difference. And then when we're comparing these ones here, that that's kind of small, but this one's pretty chunky, right? This one is pretty chunky there. Okay, so this only got 17 difference. But this one here, that's got what, 24 plus that's 50. That's a 50 difference damage. And you think about, you're doing that every 5 seconds of the game, that damage stacks up. That stacks up pretty, like crazy. Now, again, this opens up for a nice conversation. It's a new item. There's many conversations to be had with this, but I think this is a really cool item to be, utilizing if you're the role that you want to be shredding the tank, especially in best of 3, especially in competitive format. This is going to be an item that we're going to see some use out of. We're going to see some people maybe make an adjustment to try and beat a certain team. So I think it's a really cool item, but I think if I was slapping it on solo queue, I'll be putting a Slick Spoon over the Wise Glasses, because a lot of time you want to just be doing a little bit more damage to those big tanks. Okay, you want to be doing a bit more, but you could arguably say, well, no, it's probably better to get the big KOs when you only hit your skills every now and then on the squishies, because you want to be doing more damage to them. So even though you're sacrificing, you might say, hey, in the case where I'm inflicting damage onto that Greninja, this last case down here, you might say it's way more important to be doing that extra damage. Even though you're sacrificing the others, to pick up that KO is absolutely game-changing. Right, so important conversation to be had, but this item is not to be slept on. I think it's an insanely good item.